So 7 years ago today, my father decided to hang himself and leave. That's why I'm making this video today. That's why I'm sharing my experience. This is the story is the aftermath of what we've had to deal with after my father's gone, because he decided to leave. And I hope someone watches this and they can see the effects the effect suicide does to someone. Hi everyone, my name is Beth and I just wanted to pop in here before the video actually starts. This video does contain emotional content. I do go into detail about what happens to my father. So I just wanted to pre-warn you before the video starts. But if I could please just take 20 minutes out of your day just to watch this video. And if you could just share it, because the motivation behind this video was just to raise awareness. The events that happened in this video is true. This actually happened to me. This is my story. This is how I lost my father. So please, be kind. And just please, if there's something you can take away from watching this video, is that suicide should not be dismissed. I promised myself I wouldn't cry, and I go red and I'm flustered, but it's fine. I don't care. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what happened leading up to it. So, as I said, I was 15 when it happened. I was in year 11 Stradi. It was my GCSE year. I was pooping my pants because I ain't good at any exams. I'm not good at anything like that. But, it was just the start. And I'm thinking, it is what it is. I've only got 1 year left. I'm going to college after that as well. So I really didn't mind. Now, it was the week, so Monday was the 19th. So on the 23rd, is it the 23rd? It was the 22nd or the 23rd. My brother picked me up from the bus stop, so I used to catch the bus in. And he never does that normally. So yeah, he was driving and he texted me saying, I'm going to pick you up from the bus stop. And I was a bit like, that's fine. I live on a massive hill, fabulous. But when I got back to the house, there was just some personal issues going on, I don't want to go into that because it is private. But needless to say that my father outward spoke about how he has thought about suicide in his past. Now, at 15, I didn't know anyone that committed suicide. Suicide to me is just that. I see that in films, it doesn't happen around here, so whatever. I didn't take any notice of it. And looking back, I should have, but, I was only 15. And, so, personal stuff happened. I went to school then on the Friday. And I didn't go to any lessons. I didn't do anything. I just sat in a room by myself because, what happened that day really took a lot out of me, so I didn't want to go to school, but I was in school, so I had to do it. And but yeah, and I got home again that night and I walked out of the house. I just walked out because I just couldn't deal with it, so I decided to walk out. And I had a best friend at the time. I'm not going to say her name because of personal reasons, I don't want to give her name away, but I'm going to call her Peach because Peach comes up a lot in this, okay? So Peach's family and herself, actually, they took me in as one of their own. They did so much for me back then, and looking back now as I'm older, reflecting on it, I never actually got to say thank you to them, and I never actually got to say, thank you for putting up with me and thank you for going through it with me. But yeah, so Peach now, she was that sort of friend that, you know, she would drop anything just to come and, you know, see if you were okay, see if everything was fine. So I walked down to Vellenvole, opposite the church. There was, you know, there's benches there and things. And I just called her and I said, listen, I explained what was going on. And luckily she was in Llanelli, she was in town. And her family and her came to pick me up. So I decided to stay down her house that night because I was going to Swansea on the Saturday. So I got back to my house and my father and my mum were there. And before I left, my father, he grabbed me. He gave me the tightest hug I've ever had in my entire life. And I'm 6 foot, so you can imagine my father was a big man. And he whispered in my ear that I love you. And you know, I'll see you tomorrow. That was the last time I saw him alive. So yeah, if I had known that back then, I would have told him I love him too. But you know, I didn't know. So, and that's something you can't predict, is when the last time you see someone is. So I went to Peach's house that night. I didn't sleep at all. I actually woke up on the Saturday then, the 24th, which is 7 years today. And I ended up going to Swansea with my school friends, thinking nothing else of it, except for the fact that my father left me a voicemail that night. And he was asking me to come home. He was missing me. And I lost that voicemail. I don't have that anymore. And that was the last time my father actually, like, well, it was, you know, through phone, but that was the last time he actually tried to speak to me. And I don't have that voicemail anymore. I was so sad when I lost it, but, you know, technology. So yeah, we went to Swansea then, on the 24th. And I just remember going out that day. My school friends kind of knew what was going on, but they, you know, they didn't know the full extent to it. They just thought I was going through some issues. And what happens next now is it's what happened that day. It's what happened on the 24th. And I genuinely believe that what's about to happen is a complete blessing in disguise. It was a horrible day, you know, it was the worst day of my life. But I wouldn't change the way the circumstances led up to it, okay? So we were only 15, we couldn't drive, so we took the bus up to Swansea, we took the train up to Swansea, and we took the train back. We took the wrong train back, so this was about 4 o'clock. We ended up going to Neath instead of Llanelli, and that took us ages. We had to get off in Neath, we had to get back on, go back to Swansea, then go back to Llanelli. So by this time it was about 6 o'clock now. I ring my brother. Can you come and pick me up? Because I'm down Station Road and I need to get home to get a few things because I was going to go sleep back down my friend's house. He said no. And because he was out, he said no. And to this day, I'll explain more why I think, you know, that was the best thing that he's ever done for me, but for both of us actually. But yeah, he said no. And I was like, not to worry, my mate lives around the corner. I was going to go to my mate's house. So I walked there. And I was, you know, I was with my friend about an hour past. And then I had a phone call from my mum's friend on my mum's phone. So obviously I was a bit like, hello. And she was like, oh, hi Beth, where are you? And I was like, oh, I'm just on my mate's house, why, what's up? And she goes, oh, Mum just wants you to come home. And I was just like, all right, you know, but I need a lift home. So, well, I can't say her name. So we'll call this friend now, my mum's friend, Apple, because, you know, Apple. So Apple then comes to pick me up from Tesco. Now, Apple, she I got in the car with Apple, the drive back to my grandparents' house, because she dropped me off at my grandparents' house, which I found a bit odd. And she was talking to me fine, she was absolutely fine. And then I walked into my grandparents' house. My grandmother, she was up the caravan. So I only had my brother, my mum and my grandfather there. And I walked in, and if you know me personally, you know what I'm like. I just walked in and I'm like, hi guys, what's up, you know? And I look at my grandfather, and I never see my granddad cry, because if you know my grandfather, he's the most loving person ever. He's always happy, and he just couldn't look at me. My mum was just bawling her eyes out, and my brother was standing up, so I was just like, what's going on? And then my brother walked up to me, and he just blatantly just looked at me in the eye and just went, right, Beth, Dad's dead. And I laughed. I'm laughing now because the way I acted was just so, you wouldn't think it would have happened like that, but it did. And I laughed at him, and I just went, what are you on about? I just saw him yesterday. And he goes, no, Beth, Dad's hung himself. He's dead. And then after that, it just went blank. And I looked at my grandfather, he was just crying, and I know if my grandfather's crying, it's true, because he wouldn't lie about that. And his eyes said it all, and my mum was just bawling her eyes out. So I just remember going blank. You just do. I think I fell to the floor. I think I might have passed out for a bit, because I remember opening my eyes and there was a police officer in front of me. And I was only 15. And she said, Beth Ann, your father has died. It is true. And I just need you to breathe, because apparently I was hyperventilating, I just couldn't breathe. And I can't remember who went up to get my grandmother, because my grandmother was in the caravan. And I just remember her just crying and crying. It was just blank. And then that's what I mean by it was a blessing in disguise what happened, because the timing of the event, if I didn't get on that train, I would have got home earlier. I would have found my father. If my brother said yes to pick me up, I would have found my father. No, because of all that happened, I didn't find my father. I'm so thankful for that, because I don't think I would be here. But yeah. Now, the lady who was in the car with me, Apple, she was the one that found my dad. And she sat in that car with me. And she couldn't say nothing to me, because obviously it wasn't her place to. And looking back at it now, that's just a massive, massive thing. But she kept it from me, and I'm thankful for that as well. Okay, sorry. So, after the whole thing with the police and things, I rang Peach, now my old best friend, and I just couldn't talk to her, the words couldn't come out, so another one of my mum's mates called her and just explained what was going on. And again, Peach was brilliant. She dropped everything, she came to me, the family were there, and I just remember her running in and just hugging me. And I didn't cry like this. I cried, but then I just stopped and I just went pale. It just wasn't real. It wasn't real what was going on. And I was just like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, it's going to be fine. And I remember then, it just went quiet. But yeah, so 7 years ago today, my father decided to hang himself and leave his 2 children and his wife behind to deal with it. It's nothing like you see in the films, guys. It's not it's not romantic. It's not, it's, you know, it's nothing like that. It hurts, and it'll kill you, and it's horrible. And no, just don't. Okay. So the day after that, I woke up and I think I just went out with my day. I genuinely thought it wasn't real. I can't remember what happened for a couple of days, to be honest. I think I was just completely numb. It was hard. So I didn't go to school, obviously. And my friends were all texting me, like asking me what's happened, where I am, what's going on. So I decided one night, I can't remember when, but I remember doing it. I was in my room. I got on my knees and I just rang every one of my friends, every single one of them. And to the friends I did ring, you could probably remember the call. It was horrible. And I probably, you know, I just wanted to be with people. So I let them know. And, you know, it was hard. So then after that, I remember actually sitting down on the table. Now, this is something I don't wish on anyone to do. Whether it's your mum, your dad, your brother, your sister, your grandparents, anything like this. I was 15, I had to sit on a table and plan my dad's funeral. I had to pick the flowers. I had to pick what cars. You don't expect to do that when you're 15, but I did it. And then it all just sank in a bit more. And then the funeral, I believe, was October the 7th. And in my memory, I can remember the amount of people that were there. And I can remember seeing everyone's face. I can remember I had to watch my 17-year-old brother carry my father's coffin. Again, I don't wish that on anyone. This is what happens. And I don't know why I'm crying, because I've told this story so many times to people and I don't cry, but I think I'm crying now because it's more, I'm trying to tell people this is what happens after someone decides to leave you. My father decided not to leave a note for me. He decided not to tell me why he didn't do it. He decided not to tell me why he did it. He left nothing. I don't have closure for the rest of my life. And that's what suicide is, you know? This is why suicide, it shouldn't be something to be dismissed. It shouldn't be. People need to talk about it. And all the people, I've seen so many videos online of people saying you need to get help, you need to do this. They haven't actually told a story of when it's affected someone. That's why I'm making this video today. That's why I'm sharing my experience. The story is the aftermath of what we've had to deal with after my father's gone because he decided to leave. I just remember then the funeral went, I went back to year 11. I tried to go back to normal. Only then did I realise later down the line that how bad it did affect me. Because I just numbed it out. It's easier to numb it out than to accept what happened. And I just remember so many things that my father should have been there for. He should have been there to pick my GCSE results up. He should have been there when I passed college. He should have been there when I opened my letter for university. He should have been there when I passed my 3 years of university, when I found out I got into my masters. He should have been there on my graduation day. If I am ever to get married, he should be the one walking me down the aisle, but he's not. And these are things I have had to learn to accept. I never should have, but I've had to. He will never meet any of my babies. And it's hard. It's so hard. It's really hard. It's hard. My best friend now, we'll call her Giraffe. Giraffe will let me talk about this. I think that's why I'm being able to deal with it a lot more. My best friend and my boyfriend, they came into my life after this happened, so they weren't there throughout it all. And for me, they had to learn what happened. They had to know how I've been feeling, otherwise they wouldn't know. And I think that helped me heal. But yeah, this is just, I know so many other people probably have been affected by suicide. You know, whether it's you've tried to take your own life, whether it's, you know, a family member that has done this to you. And there's so many websites out there to help you. But I just wanted to make a video from my experience of what happens after someone decides to do it. And I hope someone watches this and they can see the effects the effect suicide does to someone. I have to visit my father now in a crematorium. I can't remember his voice. I can't remember what he sounds like. I've forgotten his smell. I can barely remember his face unless I look at a picture. It's 7 years on. I can't remember it. Think about him every day. A smell, a place, something will remind you of that, of that person. But you have to keep going. Life's too short. I can't explain that, I can't express that enough. But yeah, 7 years on, the damage is done. But yeah.